Hey everybody, welcome back to this live episode of Think Business. Looking forward to having Josh Charlip on the show today, talking about ice cream. I mean, what a fun way to spend, some time talking about ice cream. Josh, I've been familiar with your company for many, many years. Always been a huge fan. Always enjoyed when I see your product of ice cream sandwiches at weddings or bar mitzvahs or functions or parties. And what a fun business to be in. Your company, you're the founder of Cool Jacks, Handcrafted Cookies and Ice Cream. Here, so everybody can kind of see the packaging that you can see at grocery stores and order on DoorDash, which is a necessity in today's world. So welcome to the show. I really want to dive in and talk about your story, right? I think your story, to me, success is never a straight line. And I think we're in a world right now where people want to be doing what they love and what their passion is. And I know when you started out, you were following your passion. And so kind of rewind with us and kind of take us to that moment where you said, okay, this is my passion and I'm jumping in.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, John.
Yeah.
And sure, I'll dive in and give you the shortest version of the story without leaving out too many important parts of how I got there. Having been in the bagel business for 25 years now, I had been in the food business, and I kind of fell into that opportunity that was presented to me. And I had known bagels for a long time as a kid working in a bagel shop, so it was a natural fit for me. But again, it was something that I fell into and knew how to do. And about 11 years ago, somebody told me about a famous ice cream sandwich shop on the UCLA campus in Westwood. And I had just started making cookies, so I was into making the cookies. And so I went out and spent the weekend doing some reconnaissance mission work on this hole-in-the-wall ice cream sandwich spot that was so ridiculously busy from the minute they opened up at 11 o'clock until 12 o'clock or even later at night. And I was blown away, not only about how busy it was, but about the simplicity of their concept, which was just taking 2 cookies and a scoop of ice cream and making an ice cream sandwich. And I said to myself, no one in Michigan is doing this. I'm going to be the ice cream sandwich man in Michigan. And I came back home and I bought a cart. And at that time, I was using a premium brand of ice cream. We weren't making our own ice cream yet. But I started doing events one at a time. And so the passion piece for me, as I've now in 11 years into this, is really growing a business from the ground up. Mm-hmm. The bagel business I fell into, the ice cream sandwich from the original logo, the original name of Eskimo Jack's famous ice cream sandwiches, and the evolution and the obstacles and everything that I've gone through, which has been a lot, running a business to get to this point.
Yeah. Well, I love your story. I want to dive into a couple elements of it because I think it's great. So here you are. I remember the cookies at your bagel store and I loved them. And I never knew that. Okay, so you started with the cookies, and then so now you hear this, this place in UCLA campus has these ice cream sandwiches. Most people wouldn't get on a plane and actually follow that, right? And I think. And I think that I just want to kind of tap into your instincts for a minute because, what were your instincts that were like, hey, I gotta spend, again, I'm making up numbers right now. I don't know exactly what they were, but I'm going to invest $1,500 or $2,000 just to fly out there, spend a couple days, to try a $5 ice cream sandwich because there's something there. I just don't know what it is yet. And following those instincts and those gut is what always intrigues me about entrepreneurs. So just tap into that so other people can tap into that, what that decision-making process was. Because I think that's the tough part for people, right? The decisions actually take action. So what was that moment for you?
So I wish I could tell you that I went to business school somewhere and my intention was always to be a business person. But that's just not the truth. When I graduated from college, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I bounced around doing a lot of different things. So to answer your question, it wasn't a business-driven decision because I had no idea where it was going to go. So it was just an innate calling, and that, I guess, as you're asking this question, and I'm thinking about it because I never really thought about it too deeply, but a lot of how I have based my decisions is instinct and without giving it a tremendous amount of thought. And there's a lot of positives to being that way, and there's also a lot of negatives to being that way. But
yeah,
those are all the flows of being in business.
Yeah. Well, if you have something, just rewinding, if you have a product that people are going to buy, and that's, I think, phase one. But then as you listen to your instincts, then the question is how quickly, if you realize your instincts were wrong, can you adjust and pivot, right? So just talk about that. To me is also just as important.
Yeah. Well, I guess the only thing that I could say is that, like, when I went out there and I came back and I bought an ice cream cart and I'm going to start doing events. That was as far as my thought process went. And it wasn't like, oh, one day I'm going to have a 4-pack that I'm selling in supermarkets, all over the East Coast and throughout Michigan. Or now that I have approximately 6 carts and an ice cream truck and doing a ton of events, my thought process is sort of like getting from A to B and then B to C and sort of grind my way through things. And,
I love it. So you're in UCLA. I love this story. So you're at UCLA. You have this ice cream sandwich. You come back. You buy a cart, and you say, okay, I'm just going to kind of jump in. And now, fast forward all these years later, you have this, thriving business. And so, as an entrepreneur, what were some of the things along the way that you learned about yourself to kind of stay in the game?
Yeah, it's the game's a lot of fun. Okay, so if you can remember that it's a game and it's fun, and I'm not minimizing the real life aspects of having to have income and paying bills and dealing with employees and dealing with people's and expectations, because those are all real aspects of life and business. But if you view it as a game, and it's easier to do when you're selling ice cream sandwiches, more so than a lot of other things, it's easy to keep that perspective in mind. The goal is to make people happy, and you don't have to try too hard when you're serving them an ice cream sandwich to make them happy.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So what's your favorite flavor ice cream?
So my favorite flavor, I have 2. The first one is toasted coconut with chocolate chunks, and the second one is cappuccino chip.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Just wanted to ask that.
Sure.
Okay. So mine is my favorite. I know this is a very vanilla answer, but my favorite is vanilla, right?
Okay.
Or something with like a coffee flavor. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
All right. So let's talk about the grind, right? Because I think the grind is, studies are showing that by 2030, pre-COVID studies are showing by the year 2030, 85% of jobs that exist don't exist today. Many people are saying that COVID has accelerated things 5 to 10 years. as far as technology, innovation, the way people are thinking and businesses are growing. And so the grind is real, right? So we're kind of in a decade of figuring out how to adapt and how to pivot and how to grow. And so as you talk about the grind going from A to B to C to D, right? So those it's easier said than done. But what does grind mean today to an entrepreneur?
Yeah, my experience of the grind, and again, here's another. It's another element where there's both positives and negatives with it, because I'm really good at getting things done. I know that we'll have X amount of events scheduled for a month. And I know that we have to be there at a certain time with our product, with our staff, ready to go. And I'm really good at making sure that happens. Okay. But also when you're in the grind, other aspects of the business might suffer. Okay. And there we're talking about working on your business instead of in your business, really like being able to step outside of it and figure out how you can become more efficient and more successful. So those are the real struggles that I'm still grappling with on a daily basis as I continue to grow and expand.
Yeah. So I want to kind of stick on this for just a minute because I love this, and I love your vulnerability as you put on your website, right? So here you are talking about how you had no idea where the business might go, but you were open to all the possibilities as the journey unfolded. I think that's surrendering to the universe and just kind of grinding out and then kind of surrendering and letting things happen is something that people hear about, they talk about, but actually living through it is really difficult. And so how do you surrender? How do you grind while at the same time surrendering to the universe of the possibilities and then make the decision of what that next step is? I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle. That's why I want to kind of dive in a little bit more.
So I have this fantasy, John, that again, if I had gone to business school and I admire all these successful business people who, from this perspective, it seems like it's so easy and seamless and without struggles, and their growth is, for some people, it's so quick, and I admire so much all of that success that seems to come so quickly, and unfortunately, that's just not how I operate. So, and I surrender to the fact that I am who I am. And if you can even take a step back even further and acknowledge and accept that, and be willing to work on the things that you really want to get better at, that you're not good at, and know your strengths, that you can continue to propel yourself forward. And for me, it's, as I've gone through this process, it's the willingness to ask for help when I need it and where I need it. And it's also the willingness to accept that help, which isn't always the easiest to do when you're used to grinding it out yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking about a lot of things. I think that many people, specifically entrepreneurs, struggle with because they're used to doing so many things on their own. It is hard to ask for help. I think across the board for many people. I know it's something that I'm 49. I've had to work on it my whole life. I'm much better now than I was when I was younger, but asking for help is so critical. All right, so let's talk a little bit about balance, right? So, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who owns their own business and grinding it out and surrendering to the universe, I think it's really important to have balance in your life too, right? I mean, I think it's one thing that COVID, I think, has taught us is that we can work hard, we can grind hard, but we also got to play harder in a way, right? And unplug so we can bring our A game. And so how do you balance the grind and the unplugging?
So I have a friend who's in the who runs a very successful business, and I remember going to him like early on, and just to get some wisdom from him. And I'll never forget, like, the first thing he said to me was, "You'll never work as hard as I do," and that's always, so what does that mean? I have to go in at 4 every morning and work until 6 or 7 every day, and give up my weekends, and is that the only way I'm going to get there? And
Right.
I never bought into that, and so the balance for me is really important. So every morning I do something physical, and I'm going to carve out the time, because that really helps, keep me centered and balanced, and I have a family, and that's equally as important to me. And yeah, there they are. And yeah, and they're really, they motivate me to continue to do what I'm doing, so that I can, provide for them, and
Yeah. But I think one of the things that you're talking about is, based on the conversation with your buddy, is we have to, I think, remember always that we run our own race, and we have to have our own rules, and we need to understand, as entrepreneurs, that our race is going to look different than somebody else's race, even if it's the same business, and to not compare, and to look at that person, and just run your race. And that's why we're entrepreneurs, because we wanted to create a lane of our own race. And so I think that that's really important. And I love what you're talking about. Like, okay, that's how you did it, but that's not how I want to do it. And I'm the same way. I mean, when I started my business, I started my business the way I want to start my business. I have mentors and coaches, and I mean, but I always kind of try to ground myself, to remind myself, this is my own race, and I think that's important. Let's talk about just COVID for a second, right? I mean, we're sitting here. It's April 8th, 2021. How has COVID changed your business, and how has it changed you?
So the business is 2 primary revenue streams. One is the 4-pack that we sell to supermarkets, and fortunately, that has been not only steady but grown. As you can imagine, more people are buying products in the supermarkets, especially, not especially, but ice cream and anything else. So I've been really fortunate.
Well, it's comfort food, so I mean, everybody wants to eat ice cream.
Yeah. Everybody wants to eat ice cream. Take it from me. Everybody wants to eat.
It is. Listen, your ice cream, your product, your cookies, your sandwiches, they're incredible. I mean, I love every cookie you make, and with ice cream. All right, so go ahead.
And clearly the event side of the business has taken a huge hit. I mean, no one's doing grad parties, or no one's getting together. So last summer that was, completely, there was none of that. This summer, as hopefully things are evolving, I do have a fair amount of events booked, and I'm getting calls daily to book them. So hopefully, most of them are a couple months out still. So hopefully our community will be in a much better space. That's the impact. It's both, again, positive, negative. There it is again. We keep coming back to that theme, because of COVID.
How has it changed you as a leader, as a business owner?
Yeah, well, as a leader and dealing and having, a bunch of employees, it's a daily basis of dealing with employees not able to work and shutting production down because of COVID. And I've become a lot more patient. And you talked about surrender before. I mean, there's nothing you could do. There's just nothing you can do. You have to ride this wave out. And as long as you're better equipped mentally to ride the wave out, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is, people joke around, but they say, patience is a virtue. But I think this past, 14, 15 months has taught us all patience, right?
Yeah.
You have to have patience. My son, I chaperoned his spring break and he came home. He has no symptoms, but he has COVID.
Yeah.
I was exposed. I'm negative, but I am in my playroom quarantine right now for 14 days.
Yeah.
I have to be patient. I'm in this this area. And so I'm just trying to just enjoy it, right, for what it is, because time goes fast and then it'll be boom, it'll be over. All right. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the business, right? So tell everybody kind of who your ideal clients are. I know you can buy your product in the grocery store. You can get it via DoorDash. They're in these beautiful packages. They're packaged, so nicely. They're all, in my opinion, incredible. I think I've had every single one for sure. And but tell everybody who your ideal client is. Because I think today people are trying to figure out. As I'm talking to clients, they're having meetings with their people in virtual meetings. And one thing I say to clients is, well, send your people lunch, like DoorDash them or Grubhub them lunch and have a lunch meeting. And to me, there's no reason you can't send your employees a bag of ice cream sandwiches as, hey, have a happy day. Right. So who are your ideal clients? And if you can just chat about that for a minute.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that. I mean, we're actually we closed our scoop shop, which had served as our production facility, the one that was in Sylvan Lake. So while that was ideal for the community to come in and have this experience of an ice cream shop, our goal was really, our growth side was on the 4-pack and the events, and we moved to a production facility in Ferndale this past November. So while we don't have that piece where people can come in and have the ice cream shop experience, we still have the ability to go to supermarkets, and we're also in the process of building an e-commerce site where you can actually build your own ice cream sandwiches. You could choose your flavors of ice cream, choose your cookies, and we will mail them to you on dry ice. That's probably another 4 to 6 weeks out, but I'm giving you the scoop, John.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Right. So ideally, though, I know this is ice cream is for everyone. Moms buying for their kids. I'm fortunate enough to have a product that sort of serves everybody, So, and everyone is invited to try them if you haven't already.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And the website is cooljacks.com, but you're at, just name a couple. I know we're sitting here in Michigan, but a couple grocery stores that you're in are, I know, Papa Joe's. Name a couple.
Locally, Papa Joe's, Westbourne, Plum, Bush's, and we're really fortunate to celebrate a year that we've now been in the Wegmans chain of stores on the East Coast, which is one of the premier supermarket chains in the country. So you could, East Coast people who are listening, and I know there's a lot of you out there today listening. If you haven't heard of us, run out to Wegmans and grab a 4-pack.
I love it. Before we move into a quick speed round, I want to ask this question. I think a lot of people, before they were thinking about, flying to the ice cream shop on the UCLA campus, are thinking to themselves, I go to any grocery store and ice cream is lining, the freezers. And what a competitive space. It's great that I think I want to do it, but they don't even jump. What was it like for you to walk into and jump into such a competitive space? And how did you intentionally figure out how to differentiate yourself?
So it's a great question. And I wrote a note that I wanted to come back to about the rules that you were talking about, following your own rules.
Okay? Yeah, run your own race. Yeah.
In this case, And as we're, talking about all this, which I love talking about my business, there were no rules. I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going to. And I had started with the events, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, you should sell a 4-pack in supermarkets." And I'm like, okay. So I, developed packaging and threw the sandwiches in a 4-pack. And next thing you know, we're in Bush's Market, and so I don't have rules. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm falling into all of this and I'm learning what to do.
Yeah.
And for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. That's the beauty of it all.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I think it's great. And, there's something about, having that, that innocence and naiveness and match that with hustle and
Right.
grind.
Right.
And it works. I recently had Kara Golden, and I was just on her show. She founded Hint Water, right? And she entered a very crowded space, but she, very similar to you, was kind of like, I'm jumping in. There's no water, there's no water that it just tastes good to me. So she just kind of jumped in. So I love the jumping in.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Great. All right. You ready for a quick speed round, Josh?
Is this like speed dating, or what is this?
No,
like?
just a couple questions.
Okay, sure.
Favorite book and why?
Wow. Put me on the spot. What I just read, what did I just, man. Well, let's come back to that one. I can't think right off the top of my head.
It's all right. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Don't be afraid to grind, and you're not going to get all the answers you want at first, but keep with it.
I love it. One thing every entrepreneur needs to do in 2021 is
go out and buy a 4-pack of Cool Jack's ice cream sandwiches.
That's a good thing. I would agree with that. That's a good thing to do. All right. So I just want to highlight a couple things that we talked about. We can get back to the book if you want to, but I want to highlight a couple things as you're thinking. How you talked about, following your passion and following your instincts and going to check out that ice cream store at UCLA campus, jumping in, simplifying, growing from the ground up, grinding out from A to B to C. The game that you're playing should be a lot of fun. So make sure you're in the right game. Know your strengths. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Surrender. And most of all, be patient and just really hustle. I mean, those I think are really key things. I appreciate your story, Josh. I appreciate your business. I love your product. I think it's great. It makes, to me, ice cream makes everybody happy. And so you're in business where, it makes you happy. If you buy it because you're having a tough day and it's comfort food, you're happy when you're eating it. And so there's nothing better than having some good ice cream with cookies. My personal favorite, vanilla with chocolate chip cookies, is my all-time favorite. So I appreciate your wisdom today to, get the Think community unstuck and thinking big and thinking about the small things that they need to be doing to grow their business. Think community, if Josh can help you or you're interested in purchasing his product, you can go to cooljacks.com. Also, feel free to download my book and my ebook for free at johndwoskin.com. Josh, can't thank you enough for taking time to be on the show. Think community, cooljacks.com. Josh, stay on the line for just a minute. Thanks, everybody.